class, we saw that Howard Carter, okay, John Philip, Howard Carter, a British archaeologist who opened the tomb. I am bringing the summary. Alandina, Marin, I am bringing the summary. In 1922, because I see Marin's face is little dull. Okay, I want to make her happy also. Okay. So, that is why I told you switch on the video. I will be able to read your faces. Okay, so in 1922, Howard Carter, a British archaeologist, opened what? The Tomb of Tut. Tomb of Tut. He was the one who discovered the tomb. So he opened. And what happened? When he opened the tomb, he saw the dead body. That is what is called mummy. The dead body was cemented. I am using the same word in the textbook. Cemented to the coffin. Cemented means fix permanently. Cement is the noun form. It is used as a verb there. Same words are used in various parts of speech. Watch. What is watch, Gaya? What is a watch? An instrument that shows time. Watch. Aditya, what is to watch? To watch. To guard. As a verb it is used. Clear now. So same words will be used as maybe verb, maybe adjective, maybe some other usages. Okay. So here, the dead body, the mummy, was cemented to the coffin. How it was cemented? During the time of embalming, the dead body would be embalmed, covered with the medicines. So at that time, a ritual resins, the ceremonial things would be pasted to the body. And it is around 3,000 years. By the course of time, these pasty, liquid, wet, ritual resins, the material, the chemical that they had used to embalm became stiff with the coffin. Together with the resins, the body also became stiff. So, Carter could not take out the body from the coffin. And it is written, last sentence, no amount of legitimate force could move them. No amount of legitimate force. That means there are certain permitted, legally supported, legally permitted methods to do. You cannot do whatever you think. There are certain legally permitted methods to use. That is what is called legitimate force. If you want to separate the mummy from the coffin, you have to use the legitimate methods. And Carter understood that no legitimate method will help him to separate the mummy from the coffin. There we stop. Then what was to be done? What should I do? I want to keep the mummy separate. Take the mummy from the coffin. But what shall I do? The sun can beat down like a hammer this far south in Egypt. You see, it was too hot. So he thought, let us keep the mummy outside. So the sun may melt the resins and be like ice. If you keep the ice, it will be melted, and the things will be, when we are taking the things from the freezer, what we do? We keep it outside. After some time, it will be melted and the meat or fish will be free. In this way, he thought, let us keep the things out, and the sun may melt the resin, the cemented resins. And Carter tried to use it to loosen the resin. So Carter tried. For several hours, he set the mummy outside in blazing sunshine. So for hours, he set the mummy outside in blazing sunshine that heated it to 149 degrees Fahrenheit. So such a powerful heat. 149, temperature was so high. Nothing budged, nothing came out, no result. Even the heat of the sun could not melt the cemented resins. He reported with scientific detachment that the consolidated material had to be chiseled away from beneath the limbs and trunk before it was possible to raise the king's remains. You see, at last, Emmeline, Carter decided, Carter decided what? To chisel and hammer, like a carpenter, to chisel away the material, the cemented materials from the beneath the limbs, from the back and trunk, whole body, and it was possible to raise the king's remains. Then only he would be able to take the body from the coffin. So he decided to chisel with a hammer and chisel. In his defense, whenever we do such kind of things, they will defend themselves. They would justify their act because he was doing an act which was not legally permitted. So he should have his own reason. So in his defense, in his justification, Carter really had little choice. In his defense, Carter told, I have done this because I did not have any other choice. There was no option what to do. This was the only option in front of me. This was the only option in front of me. I would say, very many years ago, I think in the year 2006 or 4, I told you or not, I don't know. There was a huge, powerful earthquake in Gujarat, Maharashtra area, Kutch area. It was very famous. And on those days, I was reading the newspaper about those news, because at that time I was writing my book Towards Enlightenment. It was the time I was writing in 2005, 4 and 5. I was preparing my series Towards Enlightenment at that time. So I was collecting material from the current topics. So I read in the newspaper, one mother and child fell under the debris. It was rainy season. The whole land was wet, and the child and mother were sleeping inside the bedroom, small room, hut, small type of room. as we have seen in, sorry, we will see. Okay, and what happened? The whole house fell down, crumbled down, and they were sleeping. And above them, what happened? The door came and protected them like this, slanting. And they were under the door panel, and all around muddy soil. They were inside. I think they were there more than 7 days. More than 7 or 14 days, I don't remember exactly. They were there. It is written in my book. Mother and baby inside. And nothing was there to eat and drink. At last, they were saved. When the digging was done, they could find out the mother and child alive in that. Because it was like a small room. The door was up and the soil all the sides. And when they were taken out, the mother told there was not a drop of water to give to my baby. At last, I took the muddy water that was falling through the door. Rainy season. That muddy water I gave to my baby, and I also drank. And my baby was crying with hunger. Nothing to eat. At last, I took the mud from the soil and I gave to my child. The baby was eating mud. By eating mud, the stomach will be full. It will not be digested. Clear now? In such acute case, will you eat mud now? Will you eat drink muddy water, Emily? Will you eat muddy water from your courtyard? Will you take muddy water from there and drink? Even though you are thirsty? We won't. We won't. And they survived. They survived. That means what I want to tell you is that one word, there was no option. To explain that word, I told this story. There was no option. They had to drink. But later, that mother wouldn't give that muddy water to her child. But at that moment, at that situation, there was no choice. In this way, Carter defended his act. I didn't have any other option to take the mummy from the coffin, so I chiseled it. Chiseled it. If he hadn't cut the mummy, these are his defense. If he hadn't cut the mummy free, make it separate from the coffin, thieves most certainly would have circumvented. Circumvented means walk around, influence. Here the meaning is influence. Word meaning is walk around. Here meaning is influence, persuade. The thieves would come and persuade, influence. They may walk around there, hide in some other place, circumvented the guards, influence the guards, and ripped it apart to remove the gold. You see? If I didn't rip the body from the coffin, if I didn't separate the mummy from the coffin, what will happen? Thieves would come and they may give tips, bribe to the guards, security guards, and they may keep them away, and they may rip the body in order to take the gold from there, because it is known when it was opened, everybody knew gold is kept inside, and the body was with gold ornaments. Body was adorned with gold ornaments, so thieves will not leave it. That is why I chiseled it and took it out. One is there was no other option, so I chiseled it. Second, the body was adorned with gold ornaments, and if he didn't chisel it out, what will happen? The thieves will circumvent the gods and influence them, and they will take away. They would take away. In Tut's time, the royals were fabulously wealthy. During that time, the kings were greatly rich, fabulously, greatly rich, enormously rich. And they thought or hoped or expected or dreamed they could take their riches with them. So these kings thought, when I die, you see, you have to think like this. This lesson is based on the thought of life after death. They believe, Egyptians believe that there is a life after. We also believe. After death we will rise up and we will live with God in heaven. All are desiring to live in heaven, but I don't know who will go to heaven, who will go to hell, who will go to some other place and all these things. I don't know. But all desire, all expect, all hope, they want to be with God in heaven. So the Egyptians also thought like that. After the death, there will be a resurrection. They will rise up and thereafter they will live. So these kings thought that if I amass wealth, if I amass gold, what will happen? The people will keep it with my dead body in the tomb, so I can live with that in my life after death. That is why the kings collected, amassed a lot of wealth. But in BC 323, historians are here. If my year is wrong, please excuse, you can correct me also. BC 323, it was the year when Alexander the Great died. BC 3023, if my memory is not mistaken, it is the memory of 1972. It is a memory. I have studied history in 1972 in the schools. So 323 BC. So how many years before? 2,577 years. BC goes backward, isn't it? BC goes backward, descending order. So at that time he told, when you lay me in the coffin, keep my hands, palms outside open. That is why, this is because of this religious thought. He told, keep my hands outside open and take me to the burial ground. Let the people know Alexander the Great conquered the world, and the world was trembling in fear in front of the name of Alexander the Great. See that he doesn't take anything from this world. He goes empty-handed. In order to teach the world, he told his soldiers, keep his both hands out, empty. Here our Tut collected all the riches, thinking that he would be able to take the things, securing for his life after death. Just I made a contradiction, just to know. Okay. For his journey to the great beyond. What do you mean by his journey to the great beyond? Heaven. Great God. Great beyond God. His journey towards the life after death. King Tut was lavished with glittering goods. He collected a lot of valuable things. Precious collars, inlaid necklaces and bracelets, rings, amulets, finger covering for the fingers. All these are gold ornaments, names of ornaments. Ceremonial apron, mantles, sheets for his fingers and toes, and the now iconic inner coffin and mask, all pure of gold. Everything, all the ornaments are made of gold. So the whole body was covered with gold. And even the coffin, 3-layered coffin, 3-storied coffin was of gold. How many kilos it would be there? To separate Tut from his adornments, from these ornaments, Carter's men removed Mummy's head and severed nearly every major joint. You see, if it is done now, what will happen? A great hangama will be there, police case will be there, isn't it? Who are you to cut the neck, neck of the king? He understood. You are murdering him again, cutting the dead body. Here Carter cut the neck, cut the major joints of the body in order to take out the ornaments. Once they had finished collecting all these things, they reassembled. Carter's men reassembled the parts where they cut the remains on a layer of sand in a wooden box with the padding that concealed the damage. The bed where Tut now rests. After that, what did they do? They assembled it and filled with the paddings, some stuff to make it as natural. And they made a wooden coffin filled with the sand, and Tut was laid on that so that it will not be fixed to the coffin again. It will be on the sand. So no need to chisel it again. Archaeology has changed substantially in the intervening decades, coming decades, later decades, intervening, the decades that came across intervening decades. Decades means a period of 10 years. Decade means a period of 10 years. Here means in the coming years. In brief, the meaning is in the coming years, archaeology has changed substantially, focusing less on treasure and more on the fascinating details of life. Underline. Archaeology has changed substantially, underline. Then underline, focusing less on treasure and more on the fascinating details of life. And underline, intriguing mysteries of death. So in the coming years, after 1922 till 2005, almost 85 years, 80 years, these 8 decades, throughout these 8 decades, intervening 8 decades, archaeology changed its attitude towards touch. Archaeology was not much worried about the wealth that Tut amassed, collected. Archaeology was not much worried about, in the case of Tut. I am not saying that archaeology is not worried about wealth and all this. Archaeology is worried about wealth in other cases. Seeing the coins, they wanted to see the period in which the coin was made. All these things are there. But in the case of Tut, this is the MCQ what I am saying. So in this situation, archaeology was not worried about the wealth, because archaeology, the investigators, the scientists wanted to know much more about the life of Tut. and his mysterious death. These two things were the most important factor on which the archaeologists made researches, made investigations. It also uses more sophisticated tools. It also uses more sophisticated, complicated, very complicated tools, methods, including medical technology. That means they were using a lot of techniques, technology, medical technology, scientific technology, engineering technology, all these were used in order to find out the mysterious death of Tut and all the details of King Tut. In 1968, more than 40 years after Carter's discovery, you see, 1922 discovery, it is in 1968, more than 40 years, 46 years, an anatomy professor, a professor who was doing the study on the human body, anatomy professor, X-rayed the mummy. He took the X-ray mummy and revealed a startling, wondering fact. A startling fact. What is that? Beneath the resin that cakes his chest, beneath the resin, that means the resin which was cemented at the back of his chest, here, back of the ribs, back side, beneath the resin, that cakes, that cemented his chest, backbone, his breastbone, and the front ribs are missing. Some bones are missing from his chest. So when Carter took the X-ray, he could realize that some ribs were missing. Underline. His breastbone, chest bone, and the front ribs were missing. Today, diagnostic imaging can be done with computed tomography. That is a full form of CT. We are going for CT scan. The full form of CT is computed tomography. In order to, as grammatically, we have to use computed. C should be capital and tomography, T should be capital. Then comes CT, short form. Okay, short form. So, computed tomography, by which hundreds of X-rays in cross-section are put together like slices of bread to create a three-dimensional virtual body. Underline. Three-dimensional virtual body. Virtual body we can only say, virtual body we can understand now easily, isn't it? We are living in a virtual life. Yesterday we heard the flag hosting, virtual flag hosting, isn't it? Everything we are doing virtual. You are attending now virtual classroom, isn't it? This is a classroom, but it is virtual, digital classroom. So you people are very, very good experts in computer, isn't it? Within seconds you can make slides and you can turn to left and right and you can rotate it and all these things, isn't it? So you are living in a digital world. So it is easy to understand. There is no need of much explanation. So by using CT scanner, we could take a number of small pixels, very small X-ray films of a minute part of your body. A bone would be cut into 100 pieces. Each piece we will take. Or you will focus the digital X-ray film, X-ray lens into focusing on a minute part, and you may take the photo X-ray on both sides. In this way, you will take hundreds and hundreds of X-rays. Later, what you will do? You will assemble all these pixels or X-rays, and you could make a three-dimensional 3D picture, a virtual body. In cartoons and all these things we can see, isn't it? Virtual three-dimensional pictures. Which is the first 3D film, Aditya Dev? Which is the first 3D film? My Dear Kutti Chatan, isn't it? My Dear Kutti Chatan. I went to Ernakulam at that time to see My Dear Kutti Chatan. So you see, at that time it was very fantastic. We enter the theater and we are given a specs, and we would sit there, and when Kutti Chatan comes, what happens? Everything will be coming to our eyes. Fire will be coming very close. If you go some entertainment play or picnic spots and all these things, you may have 3D theater there. 3D theater. So 3D, so it is very common now. It is very common now. We are talking about the year 1968. At that time, even computer was not common. A computer was in a large room. Not many computers or laptops were not there. Now the computer is in your mobile now. Computer is in your fist. Technology has grown like that. So there at that time, the scientists and archaeologists used engineering techniques, medical techniques, computing techniques in order to find out the mysteries behind the life of touch. So by which hundreds of X-rays in cross section, you can underline, are put together like slices of bread to create a three-dimensional virtual body. What more would a CT scan reveal of touch than X-ray? CT scan could make a lot of pictures than an X-ray could make. And could it answer to the biggest questions still lingering, still not answered? Here lingering means not answered. Lingering means make a slow. Making slow, linger, making slow. But here, not yet answered, here meaning. Not yet answered about him. One, underline, how did he die? About his death, no answer. It is a mystery. Number two, how old was he at the time of his death? These were the two questions asked by the people, and no science could, no archaeology could, no history could answer to these two questions. How did he die? About his death. Second, what was his age at the time of death? King Tut's demise was a big event. The funeral function was very great event because he was a king, he was a rich king, even by royal standards. He was the last of his family's line. He was the last one in his dynasty. He was the last king in Tut dynasty. The line of that king, family kings. And his funeral was the death rattle of a dynasty. It comes there. And his funeral was the death rattle Maranamani, the last bell. Death rattle means the last bell of a dynasty by which it comes to a close. the dynasty becomes a close. But the particulars of his passing away and its aftermath are unclear. Aftermath means things happened afterwards. Aftermath. The earthquake and its aftermath. The tsunami and its aftermath. The landslide and its aftermath. The earthquake and the things happened afterwards. So, but the particulars of his passing away and its aftermath are unclear. Okay, here we stop. The next we will see in the next class. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.